Welcome back to part 2 of my developer overview on Treasure. Now today I want to talk to you mainly about two games, and they're both in the same genre, both on the same platform, but they're very, very different. And those are Gunstar Heroes and Alien Soldier. They're both nice run and gun games. And also I mentioned in my last video that there were Treasure employees that were involved in the making of Contra 3. Now on that game, the two main programmers responsible for it were Mitsuru Yaida and Hideyuki Sugunami. And in fact, those are the same two programmers that are responsible for both Gunstar Heroes and Alien Soldier. And it's very interesting to see between the three games, all three are very creative and fresh takes on the run and gun genre. And it's interesting to kind of compare the results of different experiments. So let's take a closer look. So the first game I want to take a look at today is Gunstar Heroes. Now this was released in 1993, and this was in fact the first game released by Treasure. And really, I mean, what a way to start out. So this is a nice run and gun game. The graphics are great, the sound's great, just everything is a lot of fun about this game. And things are very customizable, from your shot types to your stage order and all sorts of things. So let's just get right into it and take a look at the gameplay. Right from the beginning, you have some choices to make. First of all, you have to choose from the fixed shot or the free shot. Now the free shot allows you to move around while you're shooting, while the fixed shot freezes you in place when you shoot. You also choose your type of weapon and the stage that you want to play first. Right from the get-go, we can see that the graphics and the sound are just really incredible, and this is just lots of run and gun fun, and lots of action, lots of explosions, and nice easy controls. Here you see me collecting one of the weapon orbs, and you can carry two of these at a time and combine them to make new weapons. And I think that's one of the really fun aspects of this game, is seeing which weapons you can combine together and what sort of effects those will have. Here's some footage from the minecart level, which is one of my personal favorites. And in this one you have enemies both on the ceiling and on the floor, and if you double jump you can go to the ceiling, so there's some nice strategy that you can utilize in this one. As I said before, constructing your weapon really is one of the fun parts of this game, and in many parts, like you can see right here, they give you lots of options for sort of reworking your weapons as the game goes along. So you can devise your own strategies for each of the levels. If you beat the 4 levels that you're allowed to choose in the beginning, you go to this 5th level here. And this one is just really crazy, lots of stuff going on, and can be very hectic and hard at times. So it's important to sort of keep your wits about you. In the 4th stage, you're thrown into a board game, which I think is actually a really creative idea for the game. And when you roll the dice, you are taken either to various battles, you can also go to various rooms where you collect power-ups and those sorts of things, so I think it's a really nice addition to the game. It is not just any game that lets you punch a golem in the dick. One of the best parts of this game are the boss battles, and in each one you'll need to learn attack patterns and various strategies for defeating each boss. And I think these are really well designed and a lot of fun. The only boss that's a little bit of a disappointment is the guy that seems to be the main boss of the game, or the main villain, who looks kind of like M. Bison but is laughably easy. Here's a look at the minecart boss, which is one of my favorites in the game. And honestly, your best bet on this one is the homing shot, so that you have lots of room to move around and you don't have to worry about aiming too much. Because if you're on the free shot on this level, then it's kind of hard to aim without moving. So I would definitely recommend the homing shot on this. And I'm going to show you the entire boss battle. I don't really do all that well at it, but this sort of gives you an idea of sort of the epic nature of some of these really incredible boss battles. So if you beat the 5th stage, you move on to this 2D scrolling shooter stage, which I think is a great addition to the game. My only complaint is the shooting is a little odd and takes a little bit of getting used to. And what happens is that you'll shoot in the direction that you point, but once you hold the shot button down, then you continue shooting in that direction and you can continue to move from there. Honestly, I find this to be a little bit awkward, and it takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you get used to it, it's not too bad. But you probably should plan on taking some hits in this one. This is another place where I think the homing shot definitely helps out a little bit if you can get that. So coming up here, we have this little mini boss that really has to be a joke. How long can you last? Well, you really don't need to last that long when the boss takes about a second to kill. So for a first game, I think this is a really incredible effort from Treasure, and it also shows the creativity that they bring to the traditional genres, and we'll see this in lots and lots of Treasure games, and this becomes kind of a hallmark of their style. The next game I wanted to talk to you about is Alien Soldier. Now this was released in 1995 for the Mega Drive in Japan and in Europe, but not in North America. And what I actually have here is I have a legit copy of the European release, and then I also have this essentially bootleg copy that will work on a Genesis. And these are pretty easy to come by, although they will cost you a little bit. Not as much as the real thing, though. So I just wanted to go ahead and just sort of come out there with this. I told you from the first video that these videos will contain my own personal opinions, and I don't mean to offend anyone or anything like that. But yeah, these are my personal opinions, and I'll have to say that this is not my favorite game. I want to like it a lot. I've wanted to like it for years, and I think the more time I've spent with it, the less I like it, actually. And the main reason is, sort of at first it seems like it would be a good thing. All of the things in Gunstar Heroes are sort of bigger and badder. The bosses are bigger, even the sprites are bigger, more detailed, and the battles are really epic and everything. With the exception of one thing, which is the stages. There may as well not be any stages, and that's a big complaint of mine. I like a really well-designed stage. I like a really well-designed boss battle too, but I think in some ways it's sort of it's not as rewarding for me if there's not a nice, well-designed stage to sort of lead up to the boss battle. If it's just one boss battle after another, that can get, I think, old kind of quickly. The other thing that I have a problem with is in Gunstar Heroes you were able to pick your weapons, combine weapons, and it was a lot of fun. You could sort of customize the game for what you wanted to do. And in Alien Soldier you do get to choose weapons, as you'll see in the footage, but different weapons are effective on certain bosses, and there's no real way of knowing which ones will be more effective. And I can hear some of you out there already sort of complaining and saying, well, that's the point of the game. You play through and you figure out which ones work. But there's a level of sort of esoteric memorization required for this game that I think is just a little off-putting for me. Now, this is not to say that it's necessarily a bad game. It's just that I've found that it doesn't really fit my tastes. And I think the cryptic nature of the difficulty in this game may have a little something to do with something I saw on the back of the European case, which says, "Stuck? For all your hints, cheats, and tips, ring the Sega hotline, only 95 cents per minute." So in a way, it almost seems like this is just a way for them to release this game so that people will have to call into this hotline and figure things out. There's similar in a way to a lot of the early NES games where you kind of had to have Nintendo Power to be able to get through certain sections. But in this case, it's the whole game from beginning to end. You really need to have everything memorized. And I think that most of the people that know about this game fall into a couple of categories. You have people who have essentially the entire game memorized, they love it, they have everything choreographed, where to change weapons, etc., etc. And then you have the group of people who've watched videos of it on YouTube, and this used to include me, and thought, wow, that looks like a lot of fun, it looks like, a great game, looks awesome, so it's got to be good, right? And the popular opinion is that it's a great game, so you'd be forgiven to think that it was. And then there's the group of people, I think, like me, who have played it and are somewhat disappointed just by the fact that again, just heavy memorization required, very claustrophobic. There's not a lot of room to move around, and it's just, for me, it's just, like I said, it's just not my style of game. But I'm going to stop rambling about it, and let's just take a look at some footage. So from the get-go, I'll have to say that the presentation of this game is really incredible. The graphics, the sound, just the sort of ambiance created by the intro, I think is really great. Unfortunately for me, the gameplay doesn't quite live up to the standards of everything else. So here, as in Gunstar Heroes, you get to choose your weapons, and you choose 4 of them, and you can kind of check out each one, see what they do, and that sort of thing. The Lancer and Sword are actually the best ones when it comes to boss battles, but they're pretty useless during the stages. Also, you get to test out the controls, and I'd recommend spending some time with this and kind of getting used to how everything feels. Now here's a look at the first stage. And as I said before, the graphical presentation is really great on this, and when you watch videos of it, it looks like a lot of fun. And for a short period of time, it kind of is. Here you can see me grabbing a power-up, and you'll definitely want to take advantage of all of those because you will need them. If you made it through the entire stage without taking any hits, then this first boss battle can be pretty laughable. So as I said before, my real problems with this game are the overly complex controls, and they're just not very intuitive. So to that end, I'd like to take a look at another game very quickly, which is Mars Matrix. This is one of my all-time favorites, and this to me is an example of how a game can really nail it when it comes to the simplicity of the controls. Now everything in this game is mapped to a single button. If you fire sort of intermittently, you have a very powerful, forceful but short-range shot, and then if you tap the button, you get a regular shot. If you hold it, you can actually soak bullets, and if you continue to hold it, then you'll soak bullets to the point where you'll create a bomb, essentially. Now, as you go through here, you see I just leveled up. You level up by chaining these gold cubes here, and you just keep collecting those, and as long as you don't miss any within a time period, then you keep leveling up. Now, the important thing is, you don't have to know that to enjoy this game, and a lot of people that really love it don't know a whole lot about the chaining system or leveling up or anything like that. But it's still a lot of fun, and you still can make it through the stages without knowing all of these things. So I think this is a perfect example of how very simple controls can work out really for the better, and how you can create systems that are really deep, yet not entirely necessary to just play the game. So it kind of lures people in. They have a really great time, and even in the later stages when things get kind of crazy, it's still fun having your ass handed to you, even if you don't know all the sort of tricks of the trade. And it does this through giving you a great, rewarding gaming experience that instills a sort of desire to learn the game and learn the system. And I feel this is what's missing from Alien Soldier, is that real desire to learn the game. And I think they really focus a little bit too much on memorization. Whereas in Mars Matrix, there's not really memorization required. Of course, obviously, you have to do a little bit of memorization here and there. But you can really sort of play the game as you want. And I think that's sort of the way Gunstar Heroes was, and the reason it was really successful. Here's one of my other big complaints about the game. Things get very claustrophobic, and I'll admit that I'm not doing a very good job of playing this particular segment, but it does illustrate sort of the claustrophobia that you'll encounter in playing some of these stages, what little there is of the stages. You can see here I'm sort of trapped. It's very hard to dodge the bullets and take care of all the enemies. It's also tough because when you shoot, you're sort of locked in place. You can't run back and forth while you're shooting, so that makes things a little bit more difficult than I think they need to be at times.
Game over.
Here's a look at another one of the bosses, and in this one you can see another one of my issues, which is the weapon select system. Now you do have to do this on the fly, which can be kind of tough at times given the very frantic nature of the gameplay. Now you see I'm out of power here on this one weapon, so I'm trying to select another one. Now when you bring up the selection screen, this may be just me, but for some reason I always get it backwards. When you press left, it actually gives you the weapon to the left rather than rotating to the left, which is the way that I, for some reason, want it to work. And again, this may just be me, but intuitively, it doesn't make sense to me. And again, I'll admit this is just a personal opinion, but it makes it extremely difficult, especially when you're in kind of a hectic place and you're trying to quickly change weapons. Sometimes for me it gets a little tough because I want to press the wrong button.
Emergency. Ready?
Now, it's not all bad news. I did have fun with some of these boss battles, and I'll admit that the graphics and the presentation are really nice. And, this may be a game that appeals to certain people, but I certainly wouldn't recommend, plunking down a big chunk of change to import this or anything like that. I'd probably recommend trying it out through emulation, see if it's for you. You might come out with a better experience than I did. But regardless, I'd say this is a decent game. And of the two, though, of these early run and guns from Treasure, I would definitely recommend Gunstar Heroes a lot more highly than this one. And this does sort of represent some of the complaints that people have about a lot of the later Treasure games, which is sort of an overabundance of memorization, or sort of having to play the game Treasure's way and not your way. But regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.